January 5, 2026, dawned like any other day in Manila. Sunrise painting the city in gold, the familiar hum of traffic, families gathering around breakfast tables, children getting ready for school in the early light. The city was alive with its usual rhythm, a sense of normalcy that felt unbreakable. The city's familiar sounds filled the air, jeepneys honking, vendors calling out, laughter echoing in the streets. But that comforting routine was shattered in an instant by a sudden, jarring news flash that cut through the morning calm. Breaking news: China launches massive military drills around Taiwan. The words blazed across every screen, sending a ripple of shock through households and public spaces alike. On TV, red exclusion zones encircled Taiwan, some alarmingly close to the Philippines' northernmost islands. The graphics made the threat feel immediate, almost tangible. The news anchor's urgent tone made it clear. This was no ordinary international incident. The gravity in their voice was unmistakable, and the tension in the newsroom was visible even through the screen. The Bashi Channel, that narrow stretch of sea separating Taiwan from Batanes, was now a simulated war zone. Animated graphics showed military maneuvers and exclusion zones, making the threat feel even closer to home. For millions of Filipinos, distant geopolitics had suddenly become an immediate personal threat. The sense of safety that came with distance was gone, replaced by a new, unsettling reality. In homes across the city, conversations stopped mid-sentence. All eyes turned to the screen, searching for answers, for reassurance, for any sign that things would be okay. Reports spoke of live fire exercises, naval blockades, and fighter jets, unprecedented in scale and intensity. The images were both mesmerizing and terrifying, a stark reminder of how quickly peace could unravel. The abstract idea of regional tension was now a concrete danger to Philippine waters and people. Maps showed just how close the drills were, and the threat felt more real than ever before. In newsrooms, chaos reigned as journalists scrambled to verify facts, reach sources, and map out the exclusion zones. Phones rang non-stop, and every update brought new urgency. The story was developing at breakneck speed, and the responsibility to inform a fearful public weighed heavily on every journalist and producer. Every second counted. This was more than a headline. It was a national crisis unfolding in real time, with every Filipino watching, waiting and wondering what would happen next. The collective anxiety was palpable, a nation holding its breath, united in fear and uncertainty, hoping for answers that were slow to come. The Philippines was thrust into the center of a storm it could no longer ignore. The sense of vulnerability was overwhelming, but so was the resolve to face whatever came next. The fragile peace of the morning was gone, replaced by uncertainty and fear. The city felt different, quieter, more tense, as if everyone was waiting for the next shoe to drop. The story of how the Philippines would respond was just beginning. In the face of crisis, a nation's true character would soon be revealed. Manila's mood shifted instantly, traffic slowed, offices fell silent, and a heavy tension seemed to settle over the city like a thick fog. All eyes were on screens, phones, computers, televisions. Everywhere you looked, people were searching for updates, desperate for any new information. Conversations everywhere turned to the drills. How close was the danger? What would happen next? Uncertainty filled every discussion, from office break rooms to crowded cafes. Is this the start of war? The question hung in the air, unspoken but deeply felt. On the streets, people scrolled through news feeds, faces tense and brows furrowed, as rumors and speculations spread faster than the traffic itself. Social media exploded. Memes and jokes quickly gave way to prayers, urgent updates, and worried messages between friends and family. Fear, anger, and outrage surged online as people tried to make sense of the chaos and vent their anxieties. The Philippine Stock Exchange dipped sharply as investors panicked over threats to shipping lanes and trade. Worried about the country's economic future, business leaders scrambled to assess risks, holding emergency meetings and preparing for possible disruptions to supply chains and daily operations. For families with loved ones in Taiwan, panic set in. Calls and video chats became frantic lifelines. Are you safe? What's happening? Should you come home? The distance suddenly felt insurmountable. The crisis was no longer abstract, it was personal, immediate, and terrifying. Every breaking news alert sent a fresh wave of fear through households. The city's pulse was now dictated by events far to the north. As Manila watched and waited, holding its breath, the economic and emotional shockwaves rippled through every home and business, leaving no one untouched by the uncertainty. Manila was united in anxiety, waiting for answers, neighbors and strangers alike sharing a sense of collective worry. The nation braced for what might come next, uncertain but determined to face whatever the future would bring together. China's Joint Sword 2026 drills were a chilling show of force. 6 exclusion zones encircled Taiwan, with one stretching dangerously close to Itbayat, Batanes. The message: any Taiwan conflict would spill into Philippine waters. The PLA deployed aircraft carriers, destroyers, stealth fighters, and bombers, turning the Bashi Channel into a live fire zone. Animated videos of missile strikes aired on Chinese TV, amplifying psychological warfare. Beijing claimed the drills were about sovereignty. But, for the Philippines, it was clear intimidation. The drills threatened vital sea lanes and the livelihoods of Filipino fishermen. The region's fragile peace was shattered by a display of military might. The Philippines now faced a direct national security threat. The dragon's shadow loomed larger than ever. The crisis hit hardest for the vulnerable. Over 160,000 overseas Filipino workers in Taiwan and the Ivatan fishermen of Batanes. In Taiwan, OFWs huddled in dorms, haunted by sirens and jets, desperate for news from home. In Batanes, fishermen kept their boats docked, the sea now a forbidden zone. Livelihoods vanished overnight. Fear replaced routine. In Manila, families clung to video calls, hiding their terror from loved ones abroad. Children asked when parents would return. Parents tried to sound brave. The drills invaded every home, turning private anxieties into a national crisis. The emotional toll was immense: tears, prayers, and sleepless nights. The human cost of geopolitics was now heartbreakingly clear. The crisis was measured in lost income, fractured families, and constant fear. The government moved fast: emergency meetings, contingency plans, and military alerts. President Marcos Jr. met with top officials to protect OFWs and Northern Islanders. Evacuation routes and shelters were readied. The military intensified patrols in the Bashi Channel. Naval and air assets were deployed, not to provoke, but to defend. Public messaging was firm but calm, urging vigilance and unity. Hotlines and updates reassured families, while local governments stocked up on essentials. Diplomats lodged protests with Beijing and coordinated with allies in Washington, Tokyo, and Canberra. The crisis tested the strength of alliances and the government's resolve. The nation was on high alert, determined to defend its sovereignty. The choices made now would shape the Philippines' future in a volatile region. The world reacted swiftly. Condemnation from the US, Japan, Australia, and the G7. The U.S. Navy's 7th Fleet maintained its presence, signaling to Beijing that the region would not be surrendered. Japan and Australia demanded de-escalation and respect for international law. The Philippines found reassurance in this outpouring of support. Security cooperation and intelligence sharing intensified among allies. Joint military exercises and defense agreements gained new urgency. The crisis accelerated strategic dialogues and united democracies against unilateral aggression. Diplomatic pressure mounted on Beijing to back down. The Philippines was not alone. Its allies stood firm. Hope flickered that global unity could help de-escalate the standoff. January 2026 ended Philippine neutrality for good. Years of balancing U.S. alliance and Chinese trade were swept away by China's aggression. The Mutual Defense Treaty with the U.S. was reaffirmed as the nation's security anchor. The government accelerated defense cooperation, granting U.S. access to key northern bases. The public, soured by years of Chinese encroachment, rallied behind a stronger alliance. Neutrality was no longer an option. Survival demanded clear choices. The debate shifted from if to how to leverage U.S. support. The Philippines faced new risks, but the risk of isolation was greater. The nation woke up to a new geopolitical reality, one where alliances meant survival. The era of fence-sitting was over. The crisis sparked a drive for national resilience and military modernization. The government fast-tracked procurement of jets, ships, and missile systems for a credible defense. Joint training with the U.S. and other allies expanded, focusing on real-world scenarios. Multilateral drills signaled unity and resolve to the region. The Coast Guard and cyber defenses were strengthened. Reserves and youth service were emphasized. Defense now meant economic, food, and energy security too. Public unity soared, defense budgets rose, and Bayanihan spirit flourished. Community groups supported troops and raised awareness. The nation was determined to never be caught unprepared again. A stronger, more secure Philippines was the new goal. Amid crisis, the true Filipino spirit shone through, illuminating even the darkest moments with hope and compassion. In times of uncertainty, the Filipino people have always found ways to come together, drawing strength from one another. In Batanes, communities gathered, organized watch groups, and faced fear with quiet resolve. Neighbors looked out for each other, sharing information and resources, determined to protect their homes and loved ones. OFW families formed support networks, held prayer vigils, and demanded government action. Their unity and faith became a source of comfort as they reached out to one another and found strength in shared prayers and collective hope. Fishermen shared resources and found new ways to help each other. They repaired nets together, pooled their catches, and ensured that no one in their community went hungry, embodying the spirit of Bayanihan. Aid and donations flowed in, a modern Bayanihan in action. Volunteers, young and old, worked side by side, delivering relief goods and offering a helping hand to those in need. The crisis united Filipinos, stripping away divisions and deepening national pride. People from all walks of life stood together, proving that unity is the nation's greatest strength. Flags flew higher, the anthem rang louder, and hope endured. The nation's colors became a symbol of resilience, waving proudly in the face of adversity. The nation faced an uncertain future, but faced it together. Families and friends leaned on each other, finding comfort in unity and shared determination to overcome whatever lay ahead. Fear was real, but so was resilience. Every challenge was met with courage, and every setback inspired a renewed sense of purpose and hope. The Filipino bond, family, community, and country, proved unbreakable. Through every trial, these connections only grew stronger, reminding everyone of what truly matters. The drills tested the nation but did not break it. Instead, they revealed the depth of the Filipino people's resolve and their unwavering commitment to each other. The story was not just about geopolitics, but about ordinary people rising to meet extraordinary challenges. It was about everyday heroes, vendors, students, volunteers, who stepped up when their country needed them most. The Filipino spirit, forged by adversity, endured, stronger than ever. Through every hardship, it continues to shine, inspiring hope for generations to come.